I got a question for all of y'all. We've got two of our public service commissioners here, Commissioner Chuck Eaton and Commissioner Doug Everett. So I want to, if we can, since we got these VIPs in our audience here, we'll talk a little bit about energy policy and what you would.
Could we finish this?
We've got the Yucca Mountain disaster, but I'd like to hear about your solutions for demand side and supply side for our energy issue. We're going to continue to have energy constraints going forward, and what would you as a state senator do as far as energy policy going forward in the state?
Sure. It should be. It's actually on Josh.
Okay.
I believe it's probably
I think given that the feds control so much of what happens in energy, we need to make Georgia, whatever we're doing in Georgia, we need to make it the most friendly place for energy producers in terms of creating new capacity. And I think that we want to create a situation where we've got easy permitting for the extent that we need state permitting going forward. It needs to be quick, predictable, and straightforward. Again, most of it I think is there. I think the PSC, the commissioners are doing a very fine job over there, and I want to thank the commissioners for being here and for doing their work. I know that it's often a thankless job, but it's important. And thank you for what you're doing. And I would consult with them and see kind of what they think we ought to be doing. But for me, it's reducing the transaction cost of creating energy here in Georgia. One of the things that I had talked about, and I'm glad to see we're getting rid of, is the tax on energy inputs, because I think that's one of the things, as Drew talked about, that's what sent a lot of manufacturing jobs to other states. But it's good to see we're not going to be an outlier in that going forward. So I want to hear, what are the areas where we can be an outlier still, and then address those.
Cutting the tax was huge because, like Josh was saying, people are going out, they're going to Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, all over the country. So that was a big deal. As far as energy, I've got to really, when I think of energy, I think of fuel. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I'm one of these guys that drill and just keep drilling until we can find oil. But we got to do it the right way with this environment. You got to be careful. But as far as bringing big plants here, nuclear plants, if you go out, to Edenton and all these places that have got big power plants, we've got to be friendly to what we have here, but yet keep them. Be careful with the environment, but yet cut the tax so they can do business and not leave. That's huge with it. So.
I'm a real advocate, of course, of allowing free markets to drive the process, and so I'm really supportive of all of our types of energy, coal, natural gas. It's great here in Georgia. We've got the nuclear plants, and allowing just competition to drive the cost. I think that when you look at what we have, we've got a lot of renewable energy companies that are starting up in Atlanta, and we need to continue to support them. But I don't think that we should, as a government, support renewable energy just because it's renewable. We should let the free market dictate and allow costs to be based on supply and demand. And if coal is the best way, we need to figure out a way to keep coal burning our homes. I know that's a big thing in Georgia, and we're getting killed with the federal regulations on making it. My good friend Stephen over here works for Southern Company. They're sort of being forced to get away from coal, I feel like, because of the federal regulations. And so they're changing all that they're doing, even though it doesn't make financial sense. It's a pushed on them regulation. I would do all I can as a state senator to fight what's going on from Washington as it relates to our energy.
Well, we're getting close to an hour and a half, so.